Now this one is a response to Secret Naughty Bedlam. Clearing One's Throat was the video, and I think the quote that came out of that was, plans are shit. Well, I have to absolutely agree with you on this one. Of course, you have to plan a little bit, even if it's just sort of mulling things through in your head or whatever. A certain amount of planning is fine, but where it really starts to get in the way, back in the very dim dark future, in the dim dark past, I used to be a classroom teacher, primary school teacher, and one of the few things they teach you in teachers college or university or wherever you happen to be is how to plan a lesson and put it all together, and you have to pass little exams on how you put a lesson plan together. Okay, now that was good stuff, and you definitely need to do that because nobody is born into any given profession. You need a bit of a framework so that you can figure out how to do it. But in a very short space of time, once you're actually in front of a classroom, if you go down the whole, planning a lesson thing, might be different for high school or university, I don't know. But in a primary school setting where, particularly as my focus was to try to produce independent thinkers, independent creative thinkers, the idea of regimenting everything and writing everything down, plus the fact that I'm a lazy son of a bitch, but quite apart from that, writing it all down, I was quite good at lesson plans and all the rest of it. And the inspector would come around every couple of years and you'd have to show him all your lesson plans. And it just seemed to me more and more as time went by that the whole thing was a complete load of crap. You needed a bit of an outline. I was quite happy to outline where I thought the year would go, the general ideas of things you wanted to touch on. And maths and English is easy. You've got, there's certain concepts you have to get across at certain year levels and all the rest of it. That's fine. Don't have a problem with that. But beyond that, you really didn't need the rest of it. And the rest of it was just annoying. It chewed up a lot of time, and it just turned you into some sort of automaton. One of the really exciting things about doing teachers' rounds when you're first learning to be a chalky is that you get to sit in different people's classrooms. You spend a couple of weeks there and you help out and you watch how different people do things. If you're lucky, you get to see it done really well. If you're not lucky, it's a very boring couple of weeks. And I can remember one guy, it was about this thick, just one lesson plan after another. The whole thing was beautifully presented. It was all there, the whole thing. And every time the inspector would come around, he would just produce it. It was the same thing every year. The same crap. I remember taking the idea to a lecturer and saying, look, really, beautiful out. And I was a bit naive in those days. And I said, oh, it's really cool. This guy's done this great thing, and it's all laid out and everything. And the lecturer just looked at me and he said, you have to be joking. You mean that there's no difference between one year and the next? There's no difference between one group of kids and the next? There's no difference between what's going on in the world and what people need from one decade to the next? You can just keep regurgitating the same garbage year in and year out? And it kind of rolled me back on the heels a little bit because I thought, this is pretty cool. I'll do something like this, before I get started. I'm not actually in a classroom at this stage, just still learning. And it really made me think. And this was a very rare guy, this particular lecturer. Very cool guy, died very young. Really amazing guy. Made you think. How cool is that? And what a great epitaph for anybody on this planet. Made you think. Great guy. So I went away and I thought, yeah, he's absolutely right. And I found that if I tried to overplan things, then sure enough, I could get a lesson or a day or a month or a year to run in the direction that I wanted it to run in. But beyond a certain point, why would you want a classroom to run in the direction the teacher wanted it to run in? I've already said, there are certain mathematical and language concepts that you want to get across, but beyond that, who cares what the teacher wants? That's not what it's about. It's what the kids want, and it's what's absorbing them in their life. If they are pumped up about whatever's going on, they are going to learn like there's no tomorrow. Kids soak stuff up like it's a sponge anyway. They're amazing creatures, and we sell them very, very short. So I found that the best thing was to go with the flow. I can remember we would follow a thread or an idea for hours, days, weeks, months. It just kept going with it for as long as the kids were excited and interested in it, and it just kept going. And you stayed with it until it didn't have legs anymore, and then you went with whatever was going next. And if you were smart, which most teachers ostensibly are, you could weave all the things that you wanted them to learn into the context of what they wanted to learn. You know, I mean, you could be a little bit sneaky about it. You could introduce little ideas and everything, and they would be very receptive to those ideas because they felt and believed that they were heading in the directions that they wanted to head in. One of the true secrets to teaching is to not teach. It's to facilitate. You've heard me say that in another video. Make sure that all of the necessary bits and pieces, machinery and tools that it takes to get where these kids want to go or people want to learn, and go along for the ride and guide and suggest and bring in ideas. Don't be frightened to dump it if it's not working. You stand up in front of a bunch of kids and you talk away and it's just not going anywhere. Let it go. I mean, we had days where the kids just didn't want to know. It was just one of those days, and we just give up. We just go and do something else. Go and kick at a footy. Sit around and talk, start discussions, whatever. You can't force these things. And sort of little plans are going away. Let it flow. Go with the flow. Like a lot of these videos, half the time I've got a one sentence idea in my head. You sit down and you let it come. And okay, it's a little bit wobbly and it's not as good as it could be, and I could edit it better and the ideas could be better, but this, let it come, let it flow, see where it's going to go. You can always chop it out. You don't have to put it up on YouTube if it's crap. Don't, just sort of over-planning things. Just let things flow. I hope that made a lot of sense. So I'll sit down and have a look and see what this looks like. I might have to cut half of it out, but it doesn't matter. Try not to plan too much. Okay. Thanks, guys.